Hello everyone. Today I want to make a kind of a different video, not an introduction to a specific mushroom or a video recipe, but something more general. Not that I get these answers about mushrooms being dangerous, or if I get them in the wild, or if I cultivate them, or so, but I imagine some people may have these questions or concerns, or even people who know the answers to these questions may want to know a bit more. So I want to make a video about mushrooms and their classification in terms of in commercial terms. So there are essentially commercially two types of mushrooms: mushrooms that are harvested in the wild, and mushrooms that are cultivated and that have been cultivated for decades or hundreds of years, depending on the type of mushroom. So let's start with the wild mushrooms. Most species are only harvested in the wild, are not cultivated because they either can't or it's just too hard to farm. That's because most mushrooms have close relationships with certain trees. They need the live tree, and the tree needs the fungus as well. So these symbiotic relationships are very hard or nearly impossible to replicate. So these mushrooms can't be farmed. Some examples include morels that are very hard to cultivate, the chanterelles or the boletes. I'll try to put the examples here. In terms of danger, if you go to a market and you buy mushrooms harvested wild, like seasonal mushrooms like chanterelles, or there may be some danger involved. You don't exactly know who harvested the mushrooms, if the person is somewhat certified, or what's the level of knowledge of this person. Some species of mushrooms are more easily confused for others, and some species that are edible have toxic lookalikes and some don't. So some species are safer just because there is no other toxic mushroom which looks similar. So yeah, there's that. And another thing is that it's harder to pick a wild mushroom at the right time, right? The mushroom has a short window to be harvested just right on time. Like 12 hours later it may be too late, 12 hours earlier it may be too early. Depends also on if it rained too heavy, the mushroom will be ruined. If it was a bit sunny that day, the mushroom will be dry. So it's harder to get a prime mushroom coming from the wild, but some mushrooms you can only get from the wild. So that's the condition. In terms of commercial mushrooms. Commercial mushrooms are species that have been farmed for decades or centuries. These are certain species that can be cultivated in wood, logs or sawdust. They can be cultivated in straw or just excrement, compost, depending on the mushroom. They are not dangerous at all because these are commercial species that first, most of them don't really have lookalikes that are toxic, but mainly because simply they have been cultivated and they are not dangerous. They are not poisonous, they are not toxic. Some mushrooms in the wild are not necessarily poisonous, but they cause gastrointestinal discomfort and all. These mushrooms don't, because well, they have been proved to not have these particularities. One of the best aspects of eating these kind of mushrooms is that the farmer has the opportunity, if it's a good farmer, he has the opportunity to harvest them right on time. And if you buy from someone like me, for example, I pride myself for delivering only fresh mushrooms. I have a small production, so I can always sell all my mushrooms, and I deliver to people, so it's very easy to sell all the mushrooms within 12 hours of harvesting them. And I always pick them right on time, and I'm not my mushrooms, because they are grown indoors, they are not exposed to the weather changes like the wild mushrooms, so it's easier for me to control the environment and to harvest them on time. In terms of commercial mushrooms, there are essentially two different types. There are the normal mushrooms, the mushrooms that one buys canned or even fresh at the supermarket, the white button mushroom, the brown button mushroom, and the portobello, that are essentially the same species. These mushrooms are grown in excrement or compost. And then there are the gourmet and medicinal mushrooms. The gourmet and medicinal mushrooms are a wide range of mushrooms that are cultivated worldwide. Some mushrooms are cultivated in Asia, not in Europe. Some are cultivated in Europe, not in Asia. Same with the US. I have here some mushrooms to show you. For example, these mushrooms are all mushrooms of the same genus. They are all Pleurotus. This is the Salmoneus tramineus. It's the pink oyster. This is the Pleurotus austriatus. I have to take it out because it's at the bottom. Oh, I broke one. This is the most common, Pleurotus austriatus. It's the gray oyster. That's the pink I was telling you about. It's the pink oyster. Same genus, Pleurotus. And this is another Pleurotus, but this is quite white. We call it, even though it's Pleurotus austriatus too, we call it white elm oyster because it looks very much like another mushroom that is not very easy to cultivate. That is the Ipsicus ulmarius, a mushroom that grows on elm trees. That's why this one is called elm oyster, because it looks very similar to the other one, but it's in fact an oyster mushroom. Well, I don't have much else to say than all these mushrooms are not harvested in the wild. They don't start from cultures that are harvested in the wild. They are passed on from company to company, or from mycology lab to mycology lab. They are commercial species that have been grown for many years, and well, they all have different tastes, so and different smells. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something about mushrooms. And yeah, if you want to buy fresh mushrooms, just even though now we have the COVID-19 problem, right? I'm still delivering door to door here in Caldas da Rainha and around Caldas da Rainha. So if you are interested, let me know. Send me a message or go to our Facebook page and leave a comment, and I'll let you know which species I have at that specific moment, and we'll go from there. Ciao. Have a great time and stay safe.